All right, there we go. There should be audio now. Hey, it's me. I'm D at Rough Edges Recordings. Um, Give me 1 second. I forgot to plug my headphones in. The amateur hour. Yeah. Forgetting to plug my headphones in. It really is amateur hour. I'm learning how to do this, so forgive me if it's not perfect this try. Oh, and I forgot to hit record. We want to record this too. All right. So we're recording and streaming now. All right. With that said, today what we're doing is we're taking a look at something that's quickly becoming a favorite toy of mine. The Teenage Engineering EP40 Riddim Original Layering Machine. It's a sampler. It's a drum machine. It's a sequencer. It's a groove box, whatever you want to call it. Very cool thing. It weighs like nothing. It's very small. I mean, here's the size of my hand compared to it. It's a very small thing. It sounds really good. It's just an all-around cool little thingamajig. And with that, we're going to look at the manual to go with it today. And kind of just work through the manual together. Oh, look at that. They got I made the funky themed mouse pointer for us to work through everything with. Yeah. So anyway, I tried to start making this yesterday, and I had an old camera. It sucked, and I didn't really know what I was doing with all this video hardware and software. But I'm proud to say that it seems like I have kind of figured it out, and we are all good now. Burp. Okay, so yeah, just starting from the top. This thing is called the Riddim Supertone Original Layering Machine. Yeah, you can see right here, this user guide is for the version 2.5 firmware that just came out and added some very cool new features and stuff that I just assumed would have been there all along, but in a lot of cases it wasn't. So the EP40 Riddim is a 128 megabyte sampler and composer featuring an onboard bass and lead synth, a massive reggae dub dancehall sound library, a dedicated dub siren, a dedicated live mode, and 8 user remixable artist tracks from top producers. The EP40 Riddim is a complete rhythm and bass system, not symptom. That's funny. Sample directly from your favorite source using the built-in mic or the input jack. Sync and sequence your entire setup using sync and MIDI in and out. Power it all with just 4 AAA batteries, which is cool. Make your next hit with Punch-In Effects 2.0, blah, 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 blah. Cool. All right. Here's the short version of what's new in 2.5. And I'll just kind of go over them because I've kind of looked at them already. USB audio. Originally, the USB port was just for power and MIDI, and I think you could send audio out of it. But now you can send audio in and out. It's a class compliant audio device. It will send and receive from any other class compliant audio device. That includes phones, tablets, computers. I think stuff like MPCs, SP404 Mark II, anything like that as well that has USB class compliant audio. It'll also work with audio interfaces or whatever, anything that's class compliant. So a lot of modern devices. Basically, that means it doesn't require drivers to accept and send and receive audio. You can now reverse samples, which is crazy. I didn't know that you couldn't do that before. That's a um, pretty standard thing in most samplers, is to be able to reverse a sample. But whatever, you can do it now. You can change the sample rate of the recordings, which is cool. So that means you can. The standard sample rate is like some weird sample rate, but it's above CD quality. It's like 46 kilohertz or something. Now you can do half that at like 33, and you can do even lower at like 22, which is great. That's good stuff. All right, and moving on. You can record up to 40 seconds now per sample instead of 20, so I guess that's something. There's the equal length auto chop. So basically, you can say, hey, this drum loop, for instance, is, um, you know, 16 beats long. Chop it up into an even amount of chops, so it'll automatically sync it, or whatever. And then you've got an arpeggiator, which is very cool. And yeah, so if you haven't updated your EP40, this also goes for the KO2 as well. It does not go for the what's the other one called? The Medieval. It just gets the USB audio. So I wonder if maybe it's going to get its own firmware that has some special features that makes it extra special. I don't know. Yeah, what's in the box? What's in the box, man? What's in the box? Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Who cares? Take stuff out of the box. Okay. Let's go to the hardware overview here. Yeah, just like we can see over here on my unit. This is a basic rundown. Along the top, you've got the output, the inputs, the input, I should say. You got sync in and out, MIDI in and out. This is your USB port and the power switch. It's got this speaker. You're never going to use this thing. You're not going to make music with this. You're always going to either have some headphones or, a mixer or an amplifier or a speaker, powered speaker or something coming out of your output here, because this little thing, it only serves to, it's a novelty at best. I guess should say the batteries actually go up under here too, which I think is kind of interesting. Yeah, interesting place for some batteries, if you ask me. I don't know. Anyway, all of these buttons and keys and something do something, and we're going to get into all of this as we go through. It's almost not that important to worry about right now. Yeah, just know that the volume knob here and the XY knob, these are not encoders. These are actual potentiometers. So they have a finite value of, low to high. And the volume knob does too. It turns all the way up or all the way down, and all it does is control the output volume. So there's several layers of like volume control in this thing. Like, for instance, each sample pad has its own individual amplifier or volume setting. Each group has its own volume setting, and then all of that gets summed and sent out the main output, which is right here. And this controls the volume of this speaker and this output. This speaker is automatically killed if there's something plugged into the output, so you never have to worry about them going off at the same time unless something's wrong with your unit. Let's go back over here. There we go. Yeah. So we'll go through what all this is in a little bit, but basically, there's basic stuff like the pads are the things you play sounds with. All right. Yeah. This is not going well. I did this so much better yesterday. when I was not prepared and I was just ad-libbing. Anyway, let's just move on. Okay, so the highlights of this thing. It's a powerful sampler and composer. It has 999 sample slots, and it has 128 megabytes of memory. What that means is it can store whichever one fills up first. If you have one sample that's 128 megabytes, then you have one sample on this entire sampler. If you have 999 1 kilobyte samples, then you have filled up the amount of slots. Whichever one of those things fills up first, right? You've got the 12 sample pads, right? These are the numbers. It looks like the keypad on a calculator or a phone or something. Then you have 4 groups. And on this particular model, they're made to look like some sort of instrument. So, drums, bass, keys, and I'm assuming this is supposed to be like a record or a CD or something of that nature. But really, those are arbitrary things. For instance, on the KO2 and on the Medieval, these are just labeled A, B, C, and D. And if you look on the display here, you can even see that they've retained that naming convention here. It's just 4 places to drop samples and loops and MIDI stuff that get summed together at an output. And these 4 groups are independent of each other, but everything within a group interacts with one another if you want them to. So that's pretty simple there. Yada yada yada. We've got some effects. It's a high resolution sampler sequencer. So what they mean by that is you can get down to a 30-second note resolution in the sequencer. That's why they call it a high resolution sequencer. So you can get pretty finite with where you stick things. And then there's actually, in one of the new features, it's kind of a time shifting thing, so where you can kind of nudge things ahead or behind a beat even more than before. Okay, and we've read all this. That's literally the top up there. Okay. Pictures of the things, whatever. You can look at it yourself and see what it is. These are basic hookup diagrams. This is all pretty self-explanatory stuff. If you know what it is, you know what it is. This is stuff about time sync and MIDI sync and yada, yada, yada. This is important, though. To update the firmware and manipulate the files on the thing, there are a couple of web-based tools. And let's see if I can bring those over here right quick. There are a couple of web-based tools. I'm not currently connected to... Geez Louise, I didn't have that up the whole time. I am not currently connected to this, but if I was connected to my computer, all the samples would show up in this menu right here, and you can drag and drop them to the pads, and it can kind of make some quick work, or you can back up things from this menu. And then there's their update utility. So it's just as simple as going to their website, plugging your USB cable into your computer, and pulling up these 2 things in it. It needs to be a Chrome browser to really work right, but pull it up in Chrome, and you can update the firmware and manipulate your sample library easily from there. Anyway, so yeah, that's important. You're going to want to keep that in mind with these 2. And look, even in the manual, there are the links to the hot links to the actual pages themselves. Okay. Anyway, moving on. We know how to put batteries in things and turn things on and plug USB in. It's telling you to update one more time. All right, this goes over the screen here. We'll get more into this later, but suffice to say, it's not nearly as complicated as it looks like. It says there's 66 unique icons. Well, in several cases, 4 or more of the icons make up one particular control. So, for instance, like this row right here of icons pertains to the value of this fader for whatever given control you're messing with. All right. And these four over here are like a volume meter. So that's their volume meter. They're showing you how loud stuff is, right? Okay. These guys right here, these two things, they show the value of the knobs you're turning. And then some of these LEDs will, like, if for instance, if there's like a center position, like for panning or something, it'll blink and show you, hey, you're back to the center original position or whatever. But yeah, so again, like, it's not nearly as complicated as it looks like. I find this interesting. These two little speaker icons right here. If it's one is lit up, you're working with a mono sound. If two are lit up, you're working with a stereo sound. There you go. You know, a lot of these show you like what mode you're working in: sound mode, main mode, tempo mode. If you're erasing something, or if you're in the system menu, if you're clipping, this foot means the compressor, the output compressor is engaged. You know, you've got copy and paste, C and V. Yeah, MIDI activity, USB activity, whichever activity you have within a group. This right here actually is the battery indicator. So anyway, you get the idea. And I think you guys know what that is. Oh yeah. And if you go through here, it has a more in-depth description of all of this stuff. You know, you'll get there when you get there. We'll get there when we get there together. All right, so you can see right here, they're starting to define what their terms are for this unit. You know, that's one of the great things about learning a new unit, is learning the manufacturer's nomenclature for everything. So in this case, we've got, hold on just a second. Yeah. This shows us that, hey, the groups are these four icons here on the left. All right, group A, B, C, and D. These are the pads. The places where you store samples or loops or MIDI sequences. You got the plus and the minus keys. Can you imagine? They do stuff. Shift. Shift is pretty, I don't want to say self-explanatory, but if you've ever messed with samplers and stuff, you can probably guess to some degree. Shift is the alternate, typically the alternate setting for some button you can press. So for instance, if I press sound mode, see I'm in sound mode now, but if I press shift in sound, now I'm in sound edit mode, and there's modes within that. We'll get into that, but anyway, pressing that and shift and this takes you to a different thing pretty much every time. You can imagine that shift is a secondary function of most things, sometimes even a tertiary function. This is what it's going over. The fader and the fader button do different things. If you, for instance, well, let's see. We've got this sample right here. If I hold down fader and press that, now, yeah, it's okay, yeah, so if you hold down, if you have a group selected, because the fader affects the group, if you hold down fader, all these little buttons have a function above them, and this changes what the fader function does for that group. So normally it's on level, and that changes the volume of this drum group, for instance. But if I put it on pitch, must have done something. I don't know what I did. Let's do this. Okay, this one actually has some drums on it. Whatever. Okay, I'm going to stop here because this sucks.